Hey y'all, welcome to week 11 of The Artist's Way. We have 1 week left after this. I'm so fucking pumped. I'm ready to be done with this book. I think we should just jump right into it, honestly, because I feel like, I don't know, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but I felt really fucking prepared for this chapter. Honestly, like half the things I was like, already do that. And there were also parts of it too that were definitely like reiterated earlier in the book. So okay, just jumping into it. This chapter 11, was recovering a sense of an autonomy. Maybe I could say that word. Recovering a sense of autonomy. The first section she has is about acceptance, and I think the main idea of the section was just to acknowledge your reality and accept where you're at. Some people can work a 9-to-5 and work on their creative goals, etc. That's what they want to do. That's what they need to do. And some people need to be more of a freelancer or just focus on their creative goals, and the money will come in that way. So it's kind of accepting where you're at, what you need, and acknowledging it. One aspect that I really liked, she laid out very plainly, was to find the balance between you as a person and what you need. For example, do you need income? Do you need shelter? Do you need food resources? Balancing that with balancing what your inner artist wants. So for example, she talks about don't go and get this huge mortgage and then you're stressed because you have to make a certain amount of income to make that mortgage work, when you could have just rented out a smaller, more affordable place and use some of that money towards your art or education or etc. Which I really like. I think that's the reality. This is the most financially real Julie Cameron has been with us this entire time, of just there's a balance of I have to be a person in this society, unfortunately, and I want to create and be this type of person, but right now I only have access to this as far as something that would provide resources. And I don't know, that was definitely something this week, and I've been struggling with too, while looking for jobs and stuff, of I'm really not motivated to find these full-time graphic design jobs, because a lot of them are it's a fast-pacing, hard-working environment, which just means they fucking run you ragged and burn you out, and then in a year when you're out of ideas and fucking tired and sick of everybody and have no motivation or will to live, you're just gonna be done and want to move on, but then you're back in the same place of fucking looking for jobs. Speaking from my own experience. So I guess I've just kind of been really pessimistic about that, and I had a discussion with my husband of I think I'm at the point now where I don't really have to be applying to the junior graphic design jobs. If I do and I get it, great. That's fine. Amazing. But I can be applying for the mid to upper level graphic design jobs, and that opens up me being able to do part-time jobs that will be similar to my paycheck now as my full-time gig. And I think that's where I'm at. Like, I still need that income. I have a mortgage. But, which, I mean, I feel really fortunate that I have a mortgage, because I know most people my age don't and have roommates that aren't, like, you know, several roommates or whatever. It also helps that, like, Kansas City is one of the most affordable places to live in the country. So, I think that's kind of where my balance is like, and I think part of it too is like, the reason I wanted a house is because I wanted space to like my own safe space to like create and experiment and that kind of thing. Especially like my long-term goal with my like day job has been to get like back to remote. That way, like, you know, when I'm not working at my job, I can like be spending time doing this type of stuff. So, I guess like that's my balance, is like I give my little artist self like little things daily that are like working towards my bigger goals, and it doesn't have to be a ton. It just has to be like little workings, especially like on the weekends. I'll do like a lot more, or I try to do more. Or like my remote days, I definitely am able to do more than I can on like the days I go into work. Sorry, there's a lot of cars today. So I really love that. Definitely like a good discussion to have. I felt like it was like a really short section compared to like all the like what I would consider faux pas like earlier in the book about like finances and Julia Cameron's like privilege with that, I guess. And I don't know about Julia Cameron personally, so I don't know if she like came from some type of wealth before she like was an author and an artist. So I guess I can't speak to that, but I think like she definitely had, I feel like, especially too, like her being very popular in the 80s, 90s, like you kind of could have book deals that would like pay for your expenses for a while, you know? Whereas like now it's like, okay, you need to move on to the next thing. You got to keep making more money, and you know, you have to extend that book deal out to like so many branches of things. It's no longer just like, here, come buy my book. It's like, you need a YouTube channel with that, and a podcast, and a book deal, and merchandise, and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's like a whole fucking thing. I'm not saying that it wasn't a whole fucking thing before, but it's like a whole fucking thing now. Not only are you a author, but now you're marketing and the face of the book and your brand, and which again you were kind of before, but not to this extent. So circling back to, that's kind of her like wrap up of acceptance. Realize where you are, accept that, and then you can actually act from a place of reality and do the things you need to do. If you just sit there forever like, I don't need a job, I don't need to take this like 9-to-5 job or whatever, this like larger job, and you have no resources for your art, then you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. But also, if you're working like 80 hours a week at some stupid job just to afford your lifestyle, then you're also not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And you got to be able to like recognize like, are my habits helping me, etc. So then she talks about success. Again, this was another, I feel like both the acceptance and success were like, we've gone over this like so many times now, and I don't feel like she's like bringing anything new to this chapter, at least like in this section. I don't feel like she's bringing anything new. She goes back and explains in a different way, define your own success. To me, something I pulled out of it this time around was balance like movement and achievement with joy and passion. I think that's something that I've been struggling with the past couple of years is like movement and achievement in a lot of things, like wanting to make more money and wanting to have a house and wanting to be like recognized or like gain approval about like my 9-to-5 job and stuff. And I think balancing that out with like the things I actually want to be doing, which is like my art and my projects and that kind of thing. Like, I think there's a balance of like, again, yes, these are certain life things that I have to do, certain life, even like in your art, like if you want the resources of a big budget movie, you're going to have to like probably get so many views on TikTok or social media or enter in film festivals and get some type of like recognition for that. Like, I think there is a level of like, I guess what she was kind of talking about earlier in the book of like being bold and being recognized and seen for your art, and like you need that to a certain extent to reach resources and just like for an audience. And some of those things are like you are like hoops you have to jump through to get to that, like, and achievements you have to make to get to like the level of art you want to create, if that makes sense. But also like if you're only doing things like the achievement side of things, then you're not giving yourself like joy and passion. And if you're only working with the joy and passion, then you're not marketing yourself, and you're just, I mean, if that's what you want to be doing, if you just want to make art for yourself, that's great. Keep doing the joy and passion stuff and then just have fun with it when you can. I guess you couldn't be doing that all the time because then you wouldn't be making money, and you have to be a person. But you get what I'm saying. You understand. So basically, balance achievement and like societal success with the joy and passion just for your craft, making the things that you want to make. The other thing that she talked about, which I think is really funny, that I like have just like really hopped on this. I like, as a kid, I think I was doing, okay, sorry, my alarm went off. So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of that, like as a kid, just because of what I had to do, like what the expectations were for me as a child. But like I was doing art during school, honestly, a lot of the times, especially like when people were lecturing about stuff that I didn't need to necessarily get a lecture on. Not like they were scolding me, but you know what I mean, like educational lectures. I would do like art during school, but it was like intermittent with, you know, I was also in band, and I took like the normal like class schedules. And then in college, it was a lot of art stuff, but then I'd also do a job, and I was like, I played college softball, and then when I wasn't playing college softball, like there was a year I think where I like wasn't working out or anything, just because I needed a break and I needed to like reassess my relationship with exercise. But coming back, like I like do work out like fairly consistently on like a weekly basis. For the most part, I definitely have like periods where it like falls off and stuff, but and I think that's something that like getting into pole dancing has been really great for, is it's like a blend of like, there are times when I'm like exercising and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be doing this like super structured routine thing. Like I just want to jam out to my music or listen to this podcast or whatever. And I can kind of do that with where I'm like working out, but like when I'm just doing like fucking around on the pole, like freestyling or whatever, then I'm like still working out. I'm still like moving my body, like working my muscles, taking my mind off of like whatever I like have to do or like is on my list to do, as far as like personal goals or like work or whatever. So I get this like however long I want break from the thing I've been doing, and I'm just moving my body. It makes me really present. It gets weird energy out. I get to be creative with it. I get to feel good about myself, like physically, and like just it takes my brain off of things mentally, a lot of stressors. So I think she does a lot of examples, but I think that's like kind of what she's getting at with this section is just, and I don't even think it has to be anything like where it's like she calls it this section the Zen of sports, but I think it could literally be like going out and taking a walk. Like I don't think it has to be an actual sport, or I definitely, maybe you do something that's like the dancing stuff where it's like partly physical, but it's like a different art form if you're not like super athletic, or you don't want to do like a sport or like serious exercise. Then you do something that's like partially athletic, like dancing or throwing pottery. Like you kind of have to have like an athletic, like there's a level of like athleticism mixed with art and pottery of like you kind of have to have some upper body and like be able to like hold yourself like strongly and steady while you're like throwing pottery. I think a fantastic example of that is why did I just forget his name? Seth Rogen. I don't know why that was a struggle. It's ridiculous. It's because I'm high. That's why. So I think a fantastic example of that is Seth Rogen. He has gotten to the point where he's kind of monetized it, but it's not like he's sitting there throwing everything. Like he'll just design stuff. And I think it's kind of like he has other designers who are doing like creating and designing ashtrays and stuff for his business house plant, but it seems to me like he can kind of like bop in as far as like, I want to design this ashtray, or I'm thinking of this, or he can let his like team take lead on that type of stuff. So it's kind of this like fun physical thing that he can just like bop in when he wants to, and then when he wants to go act or produce or direct, he goes and does that stuff too. So I love that. I am all for people. I'm somebody who's just like has a lot of random assortments of skills and has a lot of random assortments of interest, and I really enjoy other people who like encourage and also are an example of somebody who's like multifaceted. But in the same vein too, I don't think you should have to be successful. Like I don't think you should have to have a side business to like afford to exist. Like I don't think you should have to have two like incomes to like live a like comfortable lifestyle, if that makes sense. And I think if you're married or like living with a partner, you and your partner count as like two incomes. Like I think that's a joint income, because I don't know, I just feel like it's cheaper to live with a partner. It's cheaper to be like in a long-term relationship. Even I know people who are just in long-term relationships for their financial reasons, and I think that is perfectly okay. I think that's reasonable. I think that's like what it takes to survive in a society at this day and point. So definitely not knocking that, and just I guess just a thought, and don't like beat yourself up if you're like, I'm barely surviving off this like full-time job that I have, or these 5 part-time jobs that I have, or etc. Like it's just hard, and our political climate isn't exactly helping either. So I don't know, do what you gotta do. I had this huge discussion with my sister, I think it was this week, about that, of just like, we're kind of in the same boat of like, we really want to get into more like freelance type work where, like, for me, I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of graphic design stuff, but a little bit of graphic design stuff, a little bit of like videography type things, and then a little bit of like my own personal art where either I like do like art shows or I'm like producing shorts, etc. And I think, like, I saw a TikTok, so this isn't like totally my like original thought, but it was just like, hey, more than likely you're not a nepo baby or somebody who like comes from money where your parents can just like support you. So if that's the case, then like you are going to have to take some time to figure out an income and figure out like a steady stream of income, especially again in this economy. So don't beat yourself up for having to take that time and take like that route to do those things to like set yourself up for success. Because I've kind of been back and forth of like, what is even the point of doing anything if I'm just going to be stuck in this loop of this like trying to make enough income and I'm not working on the stuff that I want to be working on. So that stuff is just like on pause and stagnant until I can like figure this out. And I feel like I'm never going to figure this out. So just be kind to yourself. It'll happen. It'll work out. Especially too, I think there's like a lot of pressure, like being in your 20s, early, not, like middle. I'm 26 now. So, just for reference, I guess. I feel like there's so much like, and I don't know if it's like a Midwest thing, if it's like as bad on the coast, but I feel like there's so much of like, you're 28, you're 29, and you don't have a house, a husband, kids on the way, your job figured out. And I think too, like, especially like in my family, like the example I was given was my parents were teachers. And by the time my parents were like they had kids later. My dad was 27 when he met my mom. And my mom she was older than that. So he would have been older than that. They're 7 years apart. I don't know what age they were. But anyway, they met kind of young, or not, they didn't meet young. For my dad, for like the Midwest at the time, like they were kind of older parents. And like my mom was still like, no, maybe they did meet when my mom was like 21. Cause I'm pretty sure she had kids by like 23 and I was like, oh my God. And I was like 23 and just like graduating and like trying to figure out a 9-to-5 job. And I was like, my mom was like steadily in a teaching job, which that's part of it, is like teaching is just like a different track than like artistic jobs, or like your parents are in the medical field or etc. Like even like the adjustment of like being like of time, just like the fact that like I think we've gone to more of this economy of like you gotta do these like entry-level jobs, and then you got the mid-level jobs, and then you're into like the regular like jobs, and that's not even including like management jobs. That's just like the regular like lower level employees. My sister said that Hallmark, when she worked for Hallmark, this like past year or so, she was talking to other people who had gotten hired like 40 years prior. So it would have been like the 80? No, it would have been longer than that. Because some of them were hired like 70s, 60s. Like some of them were there for a long time. And a lot of them were like people who literally just answered a newspaper ad, and whoever called up, they were like, yeah, sure, you got a job. Like that's how fucking easy it was to get a job, versus like it's 100 and something thousand applicants per one national remote job, and they're paying 10% under the national livable standard of income. So just be kind to yourself. Old people are ridiculous. Don't let them put their expectations on you. Not that my parents really were like, you need to have your life figured out by this time, but I think they kind of expected me to have my life figured out at every stage and every point. But I didn't. There was definitely a period of time where I didn't accept that, and I was like, I need to figure my own shit out, and that doesn't include people pleasing or society's opinions. So I don't know. That was a long, really rambly thing. The final aspect of this chapter was building an artist's altar. Another thing that I already done. I am very spiritual, not necessarily one divination, but I do Wiccans, witchcraft type of stuff. So I already have an altar for my creativity and art and love and passion. And I think it is nice to have okay, I am going to, even if it's just I don't some people have will specifically dedicate this one's for Apollo and Aphrodite, and I kind of keep those at the center of my altars, but not necessarily in a way of I believe in all the thing Apollo represents, if that makes sense, but I don't I'm not worshiping Apollo himself, if that makes sense. I don't know, but that's just my thoughts on the artist altar. I think it's she describes it as just a sacred place where you put some of your favorite things to remind you, just a visual reminder of all the things and what you want and that kind of thing. But to me, I take it one step further, and it's I'll give offerings, okay, I'm gonna light this candle and give myself 20 minutes to write or do whatever, and then I blow the candle out and decide if I want to continue or stop, or even just in the sense of setting intentions of okay, this is just for me to play and experiment, or I am really working on being more authentic and courageous with my art, so I'm going to dedicate this time and offer up this time as time to do that, and really be intentional with that, and just placing things on your altar as a reminder of that. So I don't know, I really like that. I thought it was interesting that she said that, especially with her coming from a really Christian background, and I don't know, I was surprised to see that in the book. But I also thought it was funny too that I was done on all the sections. I was here. So I'm so fucking pumped to be done with this book. We've got one chapter left. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have a fantastic day. I feel like I got through this really quickly, and I just did a very fast ramble. It was the sativa. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts at this point on anything. I just want to know anything. And have a great day. Be creative. Find your passion. Follow it. And love yourself. Find love for yourself. You find love for others. You find love for life. And that's what I have to say. Goodbye.